Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Newstos. So, I hear Xbox Game Pass subscribers, they like day one releases. It's just one of those luxuries of being an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, and just yet another reason on why you have to love this service. And well, about that, they just announced 2 more games that will be launching directly into Xbox Game Pass throughout the next 30 days. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually have even more than this, but nonetheless, we will be talking about both of those games later in the video, as I do think that they are rather interesting. Now, also, we will be talking about Nintendo, as they did make an acquisition. Well, kind of, but I do think that this is at the very least intriguing, and it kind of shows you what their strategy might be, so we'll talk about that one as well. First though, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit that bell notification, subscribe, and like button below. I do greatly appreciate it, and plus, I'll be able to keep you up to date with all of the latest gaming news. Other than that though, let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with a bit of unfortunate news actually, and that is about Vicarious Visions. Now, Vicarious Visions had really made a name for themselves last generation by remaking some high-profile games such as Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, and then also those Tony Hawk Pro Skater remakes as well. They really did a good job with both of these series, but I think especially with the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, that game did very well for itself. I mean, it did so well that Activision finally greenlit a Crash Bandicoot 4 after all of those years of fans asking. Here's the thing though, Activision is going to ultimately just Activision by the end of the day, and how did they reward Vicarious Visions? Well, they decided to strip them from their name and make them into more of a support studio for Blizzard Entertainment. This was actually widely reported on last year as they were helping out with the Diablo 2 remake, but it is now complete. You can actually take a look here where Vicarious Visions said this on Twitter. "We've officially merged with Blizzard Entertainment. Our development team will remain in Albany, New York, and fully dedicated to Blizzard games. We invite you to follow us at Blizzard Entertainment." So there you have it. Vicarious Visions technically, I'm not going to say officially, but technically is no more. Now, the reason I'm going to say that not officially is because it is interesting that they say that their development team will remain in Albany, New York. So Vicarious Visions does indeed exist, they just no longer have their team name. Now, what I personally hope happens here is that when and if Microsoft does complete that Activision Blizzard acquisition, I kind of hope that they bring Vicarious Visions back, name and all. Let them just kind of do their own thing, because again, they showed a lot of potential last generation by releasing some high-profile remakes. And in fact, Vicarious Visions could work on some interesting Xbox remakes as well, such as Banjo-Kazooie 1 and 2. Fans have been asking for those games for years and years, and right here is your perfect opportunity. So if Microsoft is smart here, let's save Vicarious Visions and let them be more than just a support studio. Now, speaking of support studios, Certain Affinity and Xbox seems to have a pretty strong relationship right now. Now, they've always had a good relationship, and they've worked together on plenty of games such as the Halo franchise. They've also worked on Crackdown together, and supposedly they're also working with the Initiative on the upcoming Perfect Dark as well. But it actually seems like their relationship is evolving even further now. We actually just talked about this yesterday, but it is heavily rumored right now, and it does seem like that there's some evidence out there that Certain Affinity is indeed working on an exclusive Monster Hunter-like game for Xbox. However, that's not quite all, because it sounds like Certain Affinity has some exciting plans for Halo Infinite as well. You can actually take a look over here at their post where they say, "We've been a part of the Halo franchise for more than 15 years, and we're honored to say we are deepening our relationship with 343 and have been entrusted with further evolving Halo Infinite in some new and exciting ways. Join us on our journey." So it does look like, based off of this statement and all of the job listings that they have right now, Certain Affinity will play a major role in the future of Halo Infinite. Now, even more interesting is that just a couple of months ago, Windows Central was reporting that Certain Affinity is working on a new game mode for Halo Infinite. Supposedly, and this is not confirmed just yet, but it is being rumored that this new game mode is a Battle Royale-like. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of Battle Royales, but at the same time, I do completely 100% understand that Battle Royales are incredibly popular. So if this indeed turns out to be true, this could actually be huge for Halo Infinite. Either way, though, it does seem like Xbox and certain Affinity is kind of moving their relationship to the next level, and I kind of have to wonder if it wasn't for the Activision Blizzard acquisition right now, I wonder if Xbox would try to pick certain Affinity up as well. I really wouldn't be surprised at all if Xbox tries to do something like that in the future. Let me know what you think about all of this, though. Do you like the idea of Halo Infinite getting a Battle Royale or not? Let me know in the comments below. Continuing on with Xbox news, though, we did get a confirmation of a couple of new Day 1 releases that will be coming to Xbox Game Pass throughout the next 30 days. The first of which is Bugsnax, and I know the first impression of this game usually is it looks a little ridiculous. And, well, to be quite honest with you, this game is absolutely ridiculous, but it's also a pretty good game. This was actually an exclusive PlayStation game that launched side by side with the PlayStation 5, actually released directly into PlayStation Plus for that matter. But this is a game that took a lot of people by surprise. It turned out to be a pretty decent game, and a lot of fans seem to really like this one. And that right there is good news, because today they did confirm that not only will Bugsnax be receiving free DLC, the Owl of Bugsnax, that will give you about 3 to 4 hours of additional content, but on top of that, Bugsnax will be heading to other platforms as well. This includes the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC through Windows 10, as well as Steam. All of this will be available on April 28th, and again, will also be launching directly into Xbox Game Pass. Really, again, I do completely understand that this game looks absurd, but with it heading over to Xbox Game Pass, and if you are a subscriber, you might want to just try this one out, and you might leave a little surprised. Really, the same thing happened with PlayStation Plus when it launched there when the PlayStation 5 first released. Nonetheless, though, with the addition of Bugsnax, this now brings the grand total of April Game Pass games up to 11 games. In case you did miss my previous video talking about this, I will put a picture up on screen here showing you the other 10 Game Pass games. Now, we've already gotten a couple of games confirmed for the month of May as well. We talked about this one last week, but on May 5th, Trek to Yomi will be releasing directly into Xbox Game Pass, and that one is looking like a really interesting and gory samurai style of game. Really excited about that one, but now today it's also been confirmed that Eiyoden Chronicle Rising will be releasing on May 10th as well, again directly into Xbox Game Pass. Now, even though it is launching directly into Game Pass, keep in mind that this will be available on pretty much all platforms, including PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC. So you're going to be able to play this one pretty much anywhere. But yes, Eiyoden Chronicle got a release date, and this is like this 2D RPG style of game, and it's actually a spin-off to the upcoming Eiyoden Chronicle 100 Heroes. 100 Heroes is actually coming from the creator of the Suikoden series, and in many ways, this is actually a spiritual successor of something like Suikoden 2, which is often viewed as one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. So there's actually a lot of excitement for that, and as it did have a Kickstarter, it got a lot of support online. I think the Kickstarter campaign funded around $4 million, so 100 Heroes is actually one of the most anticipated JRPGs that's coming out in the coming years. 100 Heroes is looking really good as well, which, funny enough, is also going to be launching into Xbox Game Pass, though we don't quite have a release date for that one just yet. As for the spinoff here in Rising, though, this is a very different style of game, being more of this 2D RPG style of game. Now, I'm not exactly sold on this one just as yet, but with it launching directly into Xbox Game Pass, I think it looks decent enough, and it's just a nice little bonus to 100 Heroes. If you are looking forward to that game, though, you might want to check this one out again when it releases next month on May 10th, and if you are an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, well, you're not going to have to pay anything extra. What I will say, though, is that the month of May is already shaping up to be a pretty good one for you Xbox Game Pass subscribers out there. Let's go ahead and talk about Nintendo, though, because it has now been reported that Nintendo has indeed acquired land adjacent to their own headquarters for $40 million. Now, I know a lot of people online are kind of looking at this and they're like, what is happening here? You have Sony and Microsoft over here acquiring studios, and meanwhile, Nintendo, they're acquiring land. So I think for a lot of people, they're just kind of looking at this and then they're just kind of moving on. It's no big deal, right? But I think that this is actually a little bit more interesting than what some people might initially realize. And what I mean by that is that it kind of shows you what Nintendo's planning right now. See, here recently, Nintendo did say that they are not necessarily looking to acquire new studios. They stated very clearly and publicly that they don't necessarily want to grow with outside studios because they want that quote-unquote Nintendo DNA. So, what's the best way to do that? Well, they could internally expand and grow their own studios, and that seems to be exactly what they're doing here. By acquiring that land and building even further, they can, in fact, expand on their studios. They do note in the official statement that the facility will be used for R&D research and that the building will be a 12-story building. It's actually a pretty good size overall and a good way for Nintendo to expand. By expanding internally like this could allow them to be more efficient, and it could also allow them to build more teams with inside Nintendo. And actually about that, Samus Hunter, which is a well-known Nintendo insider, did point out that Nintendo's been doing some pretty interesting things regarding this here as of recent. If you take a look over here at Samus Hunter's statement, they say Nintendo is trying to expand its internal development team and increase their efficiency. NLG and SRD acquisition, 2 rented floor and 1 smaller building starting this summer, made partner studios like Game Freak and HAL closer to their Tokyo EPD studio. 2.5 times size Monolith soft teams. That's actually some pretty well-made points, but then Samus Hunter also goes on to say, and their growing won't stop there. They also have plans to greatly improve Monolith's soft Kyoto team, the one who works on assets creation for EPD titles such as Animal Crossing, Splatoon, and Pikmin. Nintendo is also looking at new director producers inside its internal EPD, which is incredibly interesting, but then goes on to say also other partner studios like Game Freak have grown too, and other smaller developers like Vanpool and Camelot are more and more involved with Nintendo projects and teams. Nintendo has a clear vision for its future. So based off of what Samus Hunter is saying here, and also with Nintendo acquiring new land, it very much does look like Nintendo's plans is to expand and build internally. This is a little bit of a different direction than what we're seeing with Sony and Microsoft, but that's kind of Nintendo for you. Nintendo just always kind of does their own thing, but if the end result is the same and they can be effective in doing that, then why not? In this situation, they can just kind of build organically and keep that quote-unquote Nintendo DNA. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, and now that Kingdom Hearts 4 has officially been confirmed, I know that there's going to be some newfound interest in this series. So I wanted to ask you all, have you played through the Kingdom Hearts franchise? And as you can see here, only 12% of you said yes, you have played most or all of the Kingdom Hearts games, while 15% of you said yes, but only the numbered entries, Kingdom Hearts 1 through 3. And then the majority of you all, being 71%, said no. So there you have it, and that right there is probably the worst thing about the Kingdom Hearts franchise. See, the thing about Kingdom Hearts is that there's actually a pretty interesting story there if, and there's a big if you can follow along. It's already kind of convoluted the way it is, but on top of that, you're not just looking at Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3. For whatever reason, they decided to release like a bajillion side games as well between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and in between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3. And all of these games actually are important for the story. I have no idea why they did it that way, but they did. So it's kind of difficult getting into the story of Kingdom Hearts, which again, I think is entertaining. Convoluted, absolutely. But I still think that there's a good story there if you want to follow along. And I think at the end of the day, it is worth it to go through these games, but it is such a big undertaking. So I don't blame people when they decide they don't want to play through the Kingdom Hearts series. It is just needlessly complicated. But if you do, there's some pretty good options out there. I actually didn't get into the Kingdom Hearts series until just last generation leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3. What I ended up doing, if I remember this right, is I played through Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and then I watched the movies for several of the other entries. I might have played a few of the spin-offs, but I don't really remember which ones. But that's the way I got caught back up on the story, and I ended up loving the series overall. While I'm not necessarily big into the Disney side of things when it comes to Kingdom Hearts, I do like the original characters. I do like the overarching story as well. It's really got some of the best music out of any series of all time. It goes right up to the top with games like Nier Automata. I just love the music in Kingdom Hearts. But what I will say is that if you are interested in getting into the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and if you want to get caught back up with the story, there are some options out there. You can pick up the 1.5, 2.5 remix, or you can pick up the all-in-one collection, which I believe has like 10 Kingdom Hearts games. I believe you can actually pick that up for like $30 physically for the PlayStation 4, so that's definitely a good option. But if you really are looking to get into the Kingdom Hearts franchise before Kingdom Hearts 4, it might be a good time to jump in, whether you decide to play them or to simply just watch the cutscenes of some of those games. Really though, I would recommend the Kingdom Hearts games. I know that they're kind of a mess, but all at the same time, they're this lovable, enjoyable, magical mess that I genuinely really do like. It's kind of hard for me to describe Kingdom Hearts because I know that it is a big undertaking to jump into this series, but all at the same time, yes, I would still highly recommend them because I genuinely really do think that these are magical games and I would highly recommend them. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.